Walk-ins versus appointments. This is one of the questions that I get asked the most in my barbershop community, the Barber Mastermind. It's a free community for barbershop owners and barbers. I get asked a lot, like, what's better? What's the better business model? I don't think that there is a better business model. I just think that there's pros and cons to each. So that's what I'm going to cover in this video so that you can make an informed decision if you're a barbershop owner or you're a barber and you're looking to decide where to work. This video will be helpful for you because there are pros and cons to each strategy of doing appointment only or taking appointments versus being like a walk-in only barbershop. And we've done both. My name's Alex. I've owned a barbershop since 2015. We've done, I think, over $6 million in revenue now and counting. We've done walk-ins and appointments, and I've seen both sides, right? So that's what I'm going to cover in this video. So hopefully it helps some of you guys that if you're not sure on which path you want to go down, I think this will be helpful for you. So let's get into that. All right. So basically with appointments, with an appointment-based model, a client can either call, go on your website or on an app and reserve a specific time to see a certain barber or any barber, right? With walk-ins, typically most walk-in based shops are going to be you either walk in and you sign in on a sheet or you do like the honor system and you just hope that the barbers remember the order of people that came in. And then when a barber becomes available or the specific barber that the client is waiting on becomes available, then that client gets taken back, right? But there is no like certain time that's promised to the client. Some higher end shops, and this is very common in the franchise chains like Great Clips, Sport Clips and stuff, they don't do appointments, but they do like a check-in based model where rather than reserving a specific time for a certain client, what they'll do is they'll say you can check in online in advance and kind of hold your spot. So restaurants do this, for example, when it comes to, you can call and put your name on a list, like call ahead seating. It's basically like that, right? So those are the two business models, and it's like a spectrum, like some barbershops do appointment only and some do walk-in only, and then there's everybody in the middle. Okay, so now I want to talk to you guys about the pros and cons of the appointment-based model. So one of the pros, and I think this is one of the biggest ones, is that you get so much data from your clients, which if you're looking to expand, if you're looking to market, then as a barbershop owner, data is the key to being able to grow and market and expand your barbershop, because if you're not capturing the data from your clients, and more importantly, you're not using and interpreting and studying the data to make better decisions for your barbershop, well, then I don't think that you're going to be making as good of decisions as you could be, and may even like slow down the growth of your shop, right? Like for example, one of the ways that we use data is we track we get our clients' birthdays, we get their gender, we get their zip code and address now. So when it comes to marketing, right, we realize that we don't have to market to just anybody. It's like most of the clients that come to our shop that are, people that we enjoy working with, that get their haircut regularly, come back often, come back for a long time, spend a good amount of money with us. They actually have these things in common, right? Like they're in a certain age range, right? They may even live in certain parts of town. So that becomes really helpful when it comes to dialing in the marketing, right? Because not everybody is your client as a barbershop owner, right? Maybe in the beginning, everybody looks like a good client. And I think that you shouldn't be really picky in the beginning, but in a long term, you're probably going to start to notice like, wow, I kind of like serving and working with these clients a lot more than these clients over here. These clients are a little bit more picky, where these are a little bit more laid back. These guys spend more money where these guys don't. So then you adjust your marketing over time so that you get more of the people that you like and less of the people that you don't like. So that's just one way that you can use data to help grow and make better decisions in your business, right? And I think an appointment-based model is superior when it comes to collecting data, But you can absolutely collect data in a walk-in based model if you have a POS system. So, a lot of the mom and pop barbershops that I have seen don't really use any sort of POS system, software, etc. So I think that you're really going to be at a disadvantage if you don't have some sort of software in general, regardless of which model you choose. So when it comes to the appointment-based model, I absolutely think that one of the biggest pros is you get to collect so much data on your clients, right? It's also convenience, right? This is a big one. This is a big, and it really depends on the type of client you're going for, right? But if you're a barbershop owner and you want to target high income clients, people who value their time, that make good money, that are going to come into your shop and spend good money with you, then I think it's a strong argument that you want to consider taking appointments, because those people, the ones that make good money, usually value their time. So I'm like that, for example. I would rather pay more to get taken back sooner or taken back at a certain time than to go to a barbershop where I don't know how long I'm going to be there, right? I value time more than money. And I think that a lot of people that make good money, have the same mindset, because at a certain point, you realize you can't make more time. Time becomes more valuable, it's more scarce. So I would rather just spend more money because I can always make more money. I can't make more time. So if you run a barbershop and you want to attract the higher end clientele, the ones that are willing to spend more money on a haircut, then you may want to consider taking appointments. Because for those people that make a lot of money, their time is a cost too, right? It's the most expensive cost. So those people want to be taken back as soon as possible and get out of the barbershop as soon as possible, usually, right? There's always exceptions to that rule, but in general, that's what I've seen, and that's what the data shows. If there's another video on my YouTube channel where I talked about like the different types of barbershops. There's like 3 different types of barbershops. There's another video on my channel where I talk about pricing. So if you're trying to be on the higher end of the price scale, you probably want to be on a more appointment-based barbershop. Another big pro of being appointment-based is that you can plan your day so much better as a barber, because you basically know how your day is going to go. If you're fully booked as a barber and you know that from day one, you can plan your day out. Some of the barbers at our shop that have the highest retention, that always stay fully booked, right? They have their appointment book is filled. So they can plan their entire day out. They know exactly who's coming in at what time. And what a lot of them do, what some of my best barbers do, is that they'll go through each appointment. If that client has notes from what they did last time, then they'll write them down, right? Or just try to remember it. So that when the client comes and sits in their chair, they already know exactly what to do. Hard to do that with a walk-in based shop, right? Unless you remember every single person's haircut. An appointment-based model where you can take notes and save how you cut the client's hair last time so that you can reuse that next time is going to be, I think, an advantage, especially if you're dealing with the higher end clientele, right? So that's just one of the things that the barbers at our shop that have the highest retention do, is that they basically plan their day out. Right. So unlike a walk-in based model too, they know exactly when they're going to lunch because it's planned. Every barber at our shop has a guaranteed lunch break. The lunch break depends on like how long the lunch break is, depends on how long the day is, but it's a minimum of a half hour, and sometimes they get up to an hour for lunch. They know exactly when they're going to go to lunch. Unlike a walk-in based model where people might get mad at you for taking lunch, because they don't care that you've been cutting for 5 hours nonstop. All they know is that they've been waiting for an hour and a half and they want to get their haircut so they can get out of there. So walk-in based shops, I think, have a disadvantage there when it comes to just taking a lunch break as a barber, right? So with the appointment-based model, you're able to plan your day a lot better as a barber. And then, of course, with marketing, I think this one kind of relates to data like I mentioned earlier, but if you're an appointment-based shop, hopefully you're collecting a lot of names, phone numbers, emails, addresses, zip codes, right? Birthdays. And you can use all of that for marketing. Not to just dial your marketing in, but to actually just use it to market. Right, so we have dozens of different text message and email campaigns that are automated in our software that is just constantly working 24/7 in the background to help to keep the schedule full. So I'm recording this video right now in the end of January, and I hear I'm in different barber groups. I have one, but I'm in other groups, and I see people talking about slowdowns and the economy. And the reality is like, we're just not experiencing that at our shop, right? Like, it's probably a little slower than December for sure. But in terms of like slow and dips and economies, like, we're not seeing that at our shop. And I think a large part of that is because we're sending, I'm not even exaggerating, but like thousands and thousands of text messages and emails every single day. They're going out because we have thousands of people in our software at this point, right? So as a barbershop owner, if you are not collecting your clients' phone numbers, email addresses, you're missing out on a huge opportunity, because that's what's causing these dips and these quote unquote slow times. It's just that you weren't marketing during the busy times, so now you have a slow time, right? So if you never turn off the marketing, then you won't have at least the dips won't be as big. Like, you might see a minor dip, but it's not gonna go from crazy busy to slow. It won't be like this seesaw motion, right? So it starts with collecting the data. And if you're an appointment-based shop, it's so much easier to do that. Now, that's the easy part. The next step is like setting up the campaigns to make it happen so that they never forget about you, right? All right, so let's talk about some of the cons of the appointment-based model. Obviously, I think the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones, is no-shows. Like, you're going to have no-shows. I'm telling you right now. No matter what you do with the appointment-based model, you are going to have no-shows. I can pretty much guarantee it, right? Because we've done everything possible to try to eliminate no-shows, and I can tell you that you'll never be able to get it down to zero. You just won't, because the reality is that we work with humans, and sometimes, no matter how many reminders you set, no matter what the punishment is for not showing up, some people are just going to forget about it. And you know what? It's okay, because if you need every single appointment to show up for your business to work, then then that means like you probably have some other issues that you need to fix in your barbershop. So you can reduce the no-show rate for sure. Like, I have a whole video on my YouTube channel, and I go over strategies in my community about how to reduce your no-show rate, but you'll never get it to zero. Like, for context right now, I think our no-show rate is somewhere between 2 and 3%. So I think that's pretty good. I'm happy with that, right? It'll never be 100, but if you think about it, that means 97% of people who book an appointment are going to show up. That's pretty good, right? And I think as a barber, if you are a busy barber, you should be sometimes happy when people no-show on you or cancel on you last minute. Because, like, now you finally have a chance to go to the bathroom. Now you finally have a chance to get off your feet. I'm kind of happy when people cancel with me, because now I have time to go do something else. I can go get a snack. I can go help do something else. I think the people that get mad at their clients for no-showing are usually barbers that aren't busy to begin with. And that's when they have all these crazy no-show policies, because those no-shows hurt them more than anybody else. One no-show, 2 no-shows isn't going to affect me at all, right? Because I'm actually kind of happy when it happens, because, like I said, I can go to the bathroom now. I can get off my feet for a few minutes. I can interact with some of my team members, because we've all been busy cutting hair all day. So even though we're right next to each other, sometimes we don't even get a chance to talk for 10 hours, right? So anyways, that's one of the cons with the appointment-based model, is for sure you're going to have no-shows. You can go over strategies to reduce the no-shows, but it's never going to be zero. So I just look at it as the cost of business, right? Just like credit card processing fees. It's the cost of business. Just like anything that it takes to run your barbershop, really, right? No-shows is part of it, but it's one of the cons for sure. Another big one, right? Another big con of being an appointment-based barbershop is that there's huge time pressure. Because if you're a barber that's coming from a place that was a more walk-in based shop, right? Where there was no specific time that was promised to a client. And then you go to a barbershop where now you're taking appointments. That's a huge difference, right? Because now, no matter how you're feeling, whether you're running on time or no matter how good or how bad of a day you're having, somebody is coming at that time, right? In our shop, it's usually every 30 minutes, somebody new is coming in. And it doesn't matter whether you're running behind or not, somebody's coming in. It doesn't matter whether the guy in your chair changed his mind 3 times on his haircut or not. Somebody is coming in. So it can be a huge adjustment, and some people just aren't able to make that adjustment. Going from I'll get to you when I can, walk-in based model type barbershop to, oh, I got somebody coming in 5 minutes and I'm not even halfway done with this haircut, right? The time pressure is huge when it comes to the appointment-based model. Like, you have to try to stay on time as much as possible. Like, are you going to run behind? Absolutely. Like, I run behind. All of my barbers run behind. Even my most popular barbers with the highest retention, the highest sales, like, even they run behind, right? But it's like when it's like 30 minutes past, 45 minutes past, an hour past, and it's happening like consistently, that's when it starts to affect your client retention in a negative way. Like, people don't like that. Like, what's the point of having an appointment if you still show up to the barbershop and your barber is an hour behind? What starts happening from experience, because I've worked with hundreds of barbers at this point, what starts happening when you are constantly running behind on appointments, if that client comes back, and that's a big if, what's going to start probably happening is they're going to start showing up late, right? So even if you are on time, they're going to start showing up late because you've punished that behavior. You can't take them back on time at the time that was promised, because when a client books an appointment with you, that's basically a contract saying, I'm going to be available for you at this specific time. And if you are running way behind, like an hour past your appointment time, you've broken that contract. So if that client is nice enough to give you another try, what you might find is that those clients are now going to start showing up late because you can't honor your end of the commitment. So why should they? And I've seen this happen at my shop where it's rare, but some barbers are actually able to adapt and lower their haircut times. But there's this process that happens where the clients that now started showing up late because their barber was never on time to begin with, now the barber is running on time and the clients are still showing up late. So it takes like kind of a while to fix that behavior on both the barber and the client side. But that's one of the cons of the appointment-based model, is that there's this huge time pressure. And if you're a barber that just doesn't like to be pressured to be on time to take appointments, then you should probably work at a walk-in based shop. But even then, there's still time pressure because there's people sitting there staring at you, waiting for you to get to them, right? But it's not like they were expecting to get taken back at a certain time, like with the appointment-based model, if that makes sense, right? And then this is maybe a minor one, but if you're a barbershop owner, this is something to consider. This is also something to consider if you are a barber that is going to start working at an appointment-based shop, is that being an appointment-based model can be demotivating to new barbers sometimes, or just really to all barbers. But let me explain. So because we take appointments, right, and because our barbers have the ability to see their appointments on their schedules, they might look at their appointment book in the morning, the day that they're supposed to go into the shop, and they might see nothing, right, or maybe like one haircut for like 10 hours, right? And that can be demotivating naturally, right? It's like, why should I even go to the barbershop? But the reality is, at our shop, that can change really quick. And I see it happen all the time, where a barber can start their day with absolutely nothing on their schedule, and then a few hours later, they're booked, right? So I think the difference between a professional barber, a hungry barber, and an amateur, the people that stay slow and small, are the people that are hungry, the pros. They're going to go to the shop anyways, even if they don't have anything on their schedule, because they know that's literally the only way you can make money, is by being at the shop. At least you'll have an opportunity to get those last minute appointments, those last minute walk-ins. where you for sure are cutting off your income if you don't go to the barbershop. So when I was starting my barbershop, I was in the shop open to close, even if I had nothing on the schedule. And every single time I did that, I got at least 1 or 2 walk-ins just by being there. So if you're a barber who's trying to build, the answer is be in the shop as much as possible, regardless of whether you have appointments on your schedule or not, because you're for sure not going to make money if you're not in the barbershop. So you might as well be there, so that way if you do get an opportunity, you're there to capitalize on it, right? But that is a disadvantage of being an appointment-based barbershop, is that it can be demotivating to a barber who doesn't understand how this industry works, that they go to the barbershop or they look on their phone and they see 0 appointments. But the reality is, at least at our shop, that can change fast, right? It can go from 0 to 100, literally, like within a couple hours. So you want to go to the shop anyways, right? Even if you don't have appointments, it just takes somebody who's seen that, who's been in that situation before, to really understand what I just said to you, right? So if you're a new barber, or if you're starting out in a new barbershop, go to work, go to the shop, even if you have 0 appointments, because you're for sure not going to make any money sitting at home. Might as well get paid to sit in the barbershop. And if the opportunity comes in, then you get it. If it doesn't, well then, okay, you find something else to do, right? But so those are the pros and cons of the appointment-based model. Now I want to get into the pros and cons of the walk-in model, okay? So one of the biggest pros of the walk-in model is that no-shows aren't really a thing. Even if you're doing call-ahead seating, if you're doing the check-in model, like if you call their name and they're not there, then you just go to the next person on the list. Like you didn't lose anything. Like with appointments, if somebody books an appointment with you and doesn't show up, that took that spot away from a whole other person. But I can tell you like one quick trick for that. So this happens all the time in our barbershop, where we have a client who walks in and they want a haircut and we're all fully booked. So what I'm trying to get the barbers to remember to do is that instead of just saying, sorry, we're fully booked, I can schedule you for another day, what you tell the walk-in is, I got somebody coming in a few minutes, but if they don't show up, I'll get you back. And then, so you just want to hang out in the lobby, grab a drink, and then if they don't show up in the next few minutes, I'll get you back, right? So that is kind of insurance, because that walk-in is a for sure thing, right? They're right there. They're ready to spend money. They're ready to get their haircut, where you don't even know if this appointment's going to show up, right? So that kind of gives you a little bit of insurance. So if this guy doesn't show up, you can take that walk-in back, right? So that's one of the things one quick trick that we do to soften the blow of these no-shows is, like, if you get a walk-in, don't just turn them away if you're fully booked. Tell them, hang out for a few minutes. If my appointment doesn't show up, then I'll get you back, right? The only thing that sucks is when that appointment does show up and you've already taken that walk-in back, then you got to reschedule that appointment. You should have been on time. Sorry. Or have somebody else take them, or do you decide if you can still squeeze them in. But the reality is, if there's a walk-in there waiting and that's for sure, like guaranteed, they're ready to pay you right then and there, and you have an appointment coming that's supposed to come in, instead of just turning the walk-in away, you can take them back and reschedule your appointment if they're late, right? And it kind of punishes that behavior too. It's like, sorry, man, you gotta be on time, But this also works the other way too, because this is one thing. This is another con of appointment based, right? So if you're a barber that struggles with haircut times, right, and you take appointments and you're always running behind, like hour past haircut time, where they were supposed to get their haircut time, then if you try to enforce it the other way, your clients are going to be pissed, right? Because let's say your client shows up 20 minutes late, right? And you turn them away. In that client's mind, or sometimes out loud, they're going to be like, what the fuck? You're always late when you take me back, so I can't be late, but you can be late. So this is what a lot of barbers don't understand. And this is why I actually have a whole course on how to cut hair faster in my community, because you have to be able to take your appointments back on time most of the time. Otherwise, it's going to create these problems in your business, right? This double standard. So some barbers have this double standard where they can be late an hour past their appointment time, right? But if it's the second the client is late, it's like, sorry, I can't take you back. What do you, that client's going to be pissed, right? Because it's like you're always making them wait past their haircut time. So it's okay for you to be late as a barber, but the second the client is late, it's like, sorry, I got to reschedule you. That's a double standard. So if you are going to be holding your clients accountable for being late, then you have to hold yourself accountable for being late as well. You can't have it both ways, right? Back to the walk-in model, right? So no shows, not a thing, right? This guy who signed in or whatever doesn't show up. Okay, on to the next one. And so that brings me to the next point, which I think is also the biggest pro of being a walk-in based shop, is just like it's so much higher efficiency. So walk-in based barbershops are so much more efficient than appointment based shops. Meaning, like sometimes we get appointments in our shop, right? And some appointments take me that whole 30 minutes, sometimes more, to do that haircut. But man, sometimes I got, a 30-minute slot. This guy gets a haircut, and that haircut maybe took me 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I got all this like wasted time because my next guy is not coming in for another 20 minutes, right? Where with a walk-in based model, it's just if you finish in 10 minutes, you can go to the next one, right? If you're doing like these easy haircuts, I mean, you can make a lot more money doing a walk-in based shop because there's not these like weird gaps in between appointments. It's just like on to the next one. It's turn and burn, it's fast. And so that's why I think a lot of like the lower priced barbershops and the chains, they do this because, and the time does, but they don't want you to spend a lot of time on the haircut either, right? It's like 10, 15, 20 minutes is all you get. And then you're supposed to move on to the next client. But so that's one of the biggest pros of being a walk-in based shop, no appointments, is just if you finish that haircut early, then you make more money because you go right to the next client. You don't have this weird gap before your next appointment shows up. So way higher efficiency, way less wasted time with the appointment-based model. So let's get into the cons, right? So I think one of the biggest cons with the walk-in based model, it's the reason that I stopped going to those shops when I was a client. It's just like, it's so unpredictable. Like I never know when it's going to be busy as a client. So naturally, what am I going to try to do, right? Probably what a lot of people do. They show up like right when you open, hoping that you can get them in before anybody else shows up. And then, so you got these weird, peaks and valleys in terms of your traffic flow all throughout the day. It's never steady. You're just going to be like probably slammed and then dead and then slammed again, right? So with appointments, you can really smooth out the demand because you only have so many slots throughout the day, right? And if a client, once they've been coming to you for a while, once they look at your schedule and they see that you have 0 spots today, they're probably not going to try to come in, right? Where with a walk-in based shop, like you're just going to get these waves of people, right? You're going to be 3-4 walk-ins at a time and then nothing for a few hours. And so it's super unpredictable. It's one of the biggest cons, I think. So that makes, as a barbershop owner, I think makes it harder to predict when you should staff people, like how many barbers you need, right? Because like if it's so unpredictable, like I don't know if I need 5 barbers today or 2 or 8. So with appointments, I can absolutely, like scheduling is so much easier, right? Because I know that, okay, we've been fully booked, or let's say we're like 80% booked on Wednesdays for the last 3 months. So when we hire our next barber, Wednesday is going to be one of those days that we put them on, right? So we can track these things, and that's actually exactly what we do when we're scheduling our newer barbers who are just joining us. The first thing we do is we look at our utilization, and we actually track it by the day, so that when we start a new barber, we want them to be busy. We want them to start off strong and make good money. So we look at the days that are the busiest, that are the most booked, that have the highest utilization, and that's their schedule when they start. Because why would I put everybody on the same day, And then it's also like, why would I put them on a day where we don't need them, Just like if we're 90% booked every single Sunday, the next barber that we hire, Sundays is going to be one of the days that they work. Right? A lot harder to do that with a walk-in based model. Could you probably do that? I would absolutely, I would assume that the bigger chains have access to some of this data too. So you could probably solve that problem by, again, like going with a software that can give you like trends and help you spot patterns. But if you're just doing like a clipboard type of barbershop, it's going to be tough. Scheduling is going to be a nightmare. I think the walk-in based models are going to be a little bit of a deterrent for people who are high income type of clients, right? Because they value their time. Time is a cost to those people. I value my time way more than the money, right? I would rather pay more to skip the line. I've literally done that. Like I don't go to theme parks anymore unless I have a fast pass. Driving on the interstate is free, but I have a express pass, right? In case there's traffic, I go in that express lane. Right? I'd rather pay for something that is normally free just to save that little bit of time so I can get home a little sooner, right? And I'm not alone, right? Many people will pay more for convenience if it saves them time. This is why I think, some barbers don't believe you, but I do believe. I just had a client tell me the other day that people will pay more if you can get them in and out faster, right? So that's basically what they're doing with appointment-based model, right? I'm saving this as a barbershop. I'm saving this time specifically for you, right? Because of that, I can't take care of anybody else during this time. This time is just for you. But because of that, there's going to be a premium that you pay as a client. I'm going to be available at that time that you booked. You're going to show up at that time you booked, and I'm going to give you a great haircut and get you in and out in a reasonable amount of time, right? It's a convenience, so they pay more for that. At a walk-in based shop, you could get away with charging less, I think, because they're paying really with their time too, if you think about it. Time is a cost, so it's harder to get away, I think, with the premium price scale if you're inconveniencing clients in the form of making them wait. That makes sense, right? So I think that it's going to be tough to charge a lot for your haircuts, like $40 plus, and like not take appointments. It's also like if you're an appointment-based shop and you're charging a lot of money and you're not getting busier, probably one of the things that's happening is that you're not honoring your appointment times. Right? It's a simple fix. Well, simple, not easy, but just take your appointments back on time. If you want to be more valuable as a barber, here's my easiest tip I can give you. Just take your appointments back on time and get them in and out at the time that was promised. So if you said on your website that the haircut takes 30 minutes, take 30 minutes. Give them a great haircut, but don't take too much more time than that, because people are planning, especially like people that make good money, they're planning their day around that haircut. Some of them are literally coming on their lunch break. They only have an hour, so they got 15 minutes to get there, 30 minutes for you to cut their hair, and they got 15 minutes to get back to work, right? So if you take longer than that, well, that's why people aren't coming back, right? So here's what we do at my shop. So I would consider us like a more upscale shop. We charge $45 for a haircut. We're going to end up going up a little bit higher here soon. But so I think that if you're trying to be an upscale barbershop, then I think you got to take appointments, or at least I would recommend it, right? But I also don't think it makes sense to be appointment only, right? So we do both, right? So this is like I think the 2.0 version of this, because really the way that you can do both successfully is that you always have enough barbers. It took me like 6 years to learn this, right? But like, if you have enough barbers, then you can do both. You can take appointments and you can take walk-ins and those last minute appointments, because you never let it get to 100% booked, right? So this is why, if you check out my course in my community, I have a whole course on hiring barbers. One of the most important things that I figured out as a barbershop owner sounds silly, but it's like literally is just, when is the right time to hire a barber? Once you figure that out, it unlocks all this revenue in your business, because you basically never stop growing, because it's like what most people do. What I used to do is I would wait till we would get to like 100% booked before I even started looking for a barber. The problem with that is even if you get to 85% booked, it actually starts to get really stressful at that point because the phone's ringing all damn day, walk-ins are coming in all day, and you got to tell them the same thing. Sorry, I can't get to you. We're fully booked. You can't take those last minute appointments. Somebody booked with you and they want to reschedule, but they can't get back on your schedule for a few more weeks because you're so booked. So I think only barbershop owners that have a busy ass shop and like barbers that are really busy can understand what I'm saying right now. But like, you don't want to let it get to 85, 90, 100% booked because you're not going to have room to grow, right? So you want to have enough barbers so that as soon as it starts getting up there in terms of your utilization, when you start to get to that point where you're turning people away, it's like we need to start thinking about looking for barbers before it gets much worse, right? So like for context, we try to hire like around 70-75% book, right? Because it's going to keep going up, right? So we want to like start looking, right? And then bring somebody on, because whenever you add a barber, it usually drops again, right? Because you just added a bunch of hours to the schedule. So I would recommend if you're targeting higher end clientele, try to do both. But this is a balancing act if you're a barbershop owner, because that means that you have to have enough barbers to be able to handle both appointments and walk-ins. I don't recommend trying to reserve time for walk-ins. I don't recommend having certain barbers for walk-ins because of the unpredictability of it. Our whole schedule is open. Like, we don't reserve times for walk-ins because it's unpredictable. We don't know. I'd rather like let our schedule get fully booked, and if that keeps happening, then we just hire another barber, right? But we don't reserve time for walk-ins. But we're not going to turn somebody away if they don't have an appointment either. So I think the best way, if you're an upscale shop, is to try to do both, right? And if you're just an individual barber, the way you do that is if you're getting to like 80-85% booked and you're there for like, I would say a minimum of 2 to 3 months, then you may want to think about going up on your prices, because now you're starting to get inconvenient to your clients, right? And some of them, like I talked about earlier, like I don't mind paying $5-10 more if that means I don't have to wait like 3 weeks past when I normally want to get my haircut, right? And probably a lot of your clients are saying the same thing. So it is good to be busy as a barber, but there is such a thing as being too busy. So when you get to the point where you're super, super booked, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, you don't want to stay there, right? So if you're a barbershop owner, you want to think about hiring at that point. If you're an individual barber, you may want to think about raising your prices, because now you're probably going to start losing clients at that point because they don't want to wait 4 weeks to get their haircut, right? And they don't want to wait 4 weeks if they reschedule their appointment and now that, they would rather come in tomorrow instead of today. They can't make it, whatever, but they can't get in tomorrow because you're fully booked already. So these are the things that, the problems that come with being really busy, but it does create problems, right? Being slow creates problems, and being busy creates problems. You're always going to have problems, right? But if you're a barbershop owner, that's what I would recommend. Try to do both, and then you just manage that by hiring barbers, right? But if you're on the cheaper end of the price scale, it may not be worth it to take appointments. You can just do a simple walk-in, check-in based model. But I would recommend trying to do both if you're trying to be a more upscale shop that wants to target higher end clientele. And that's what we do. And we've done millions of dollars in revenue doing that. So if I find a better way, I'll share it with you guys. But that's what I would recommend. So that's what I think. That's my take on appointments versus walk-ins for barbershops.